If you were wondering which true wireless earbuds offer you the best active noise cancelling performance, along with excellent sound quality and great features, then you have come to the right place, as in today's video I'm comparing 5 of the best noise cancelling earbuds currently available on the market. My name is Andy, and you're watching Andy's Tech Tone. So I've got 5 top-of-the-line models from 5 renowned manufacturers. In alphabetical order, these are the Apple Airpods Pro version 2, the Bose QuietComfort Mark II, the Samsung Galaxy Buds 2 Pro, the Sennheiser Momentum True Wireless 3, and the Sony WF-1000XM4. All the buds cost somewhere between 240 and 300 euros typically, but for actual prices, please check out the links in the description. I bought all the buds with my own money. This video is not sponsored and my opinion has not been influenced by anybody in any way, shape or form. With all that said, let's start the actual comparison. First and foremost, let me give you my thoughts on each bud in terms of their design, comfort and fit. Well, focusing on the latter two, as you can probably make up your own mind regarding which design you prefer, based on the B-roll in this video, and you can rest assured that all these earbuds have a premium build quality across the board. So that's all I have to say about the design itself, but as far as comfort, I personally found the Apple AirPods Pro and the Samsung Galaxy Buds 2 Pro the best, followed by the Sennheiser, the Bose and the Sony in that order. And I have some issues with each of the last 3. Both the Sennheiser Momentum and the Bose QC Mark II come with replaceable stability bands, which will give you great support in your ears. However, the Bose buds are only comfortable without rotation, but the minute I rotate them to achieve the best fit as per the manufacturer's advice, the oval-shaped tips start to press against the inside my ear canals. The Sennheiser buds are comfortable and the fit is secure enough too, but neither of the silicone tips that come in the box could provide me with a tight seal, which have a negative impact on both the sound quality, especially on the bass, and the noise cancelling performance. So I decided to replace the original tips with premium Comply foam tips to get the most out of the buds, and during some of my tests you will have to keep that in mind. The Sony XM4 come with foam tips of their own in the box, but the earbuds themselves are anything but comfortable in my ears. Sure, the fit is tight, but long-term use is out of question for me due to the pressure I feel in my ear canals. The Samsung buds are the tiniest and they are very comfortable too. And even though I feel like they could fall out of my ears anytime, the fit is actually tight enough to handle casual physical activities. And the AirPods Pros are the absolute winners of the fit and comfort test. I had no issues with the Apple Buds whatsoever. Short-term, long-term, casual use, running or exercising, the buds did not budge and did not cause any discomfort at all in my ears. And talking about exercise, since all the earbuds have at least a basic IPX4 rating, which makes them splash and sweat-proof, each and every one of them can be used in the gym and even for running, as long as you find the fit secure enough in your own ears. The Samsung buds come with a more robust IPX7 rating, which means that you can even wash the earbuds under tap water after an intense cardio session. But still, there are better options on the market when it comes to earbuds that were specifically designed for sports and exercising, and I have a few videos in the pipeline covering that topic in detail, so make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Moving on to the battery cases, we get quite a variety there in terms of styling and size. My favorite by far is the Sennheiser case with its elegant look and textured fabric cover, but it's also the largest and least practical out of the 5. And while the Apple case is my least favorite as far as its form factor and glossy white finish go, this case proves to be the most practical in everyday use. It's small, it's easily pocketable, it has a lanyard loop, a built-in speaker and an onboard wireless chip which can help you locating the case should you ever misplace it. The second smallest is the Samsung case and I like its matte coating too. The Sony and the Bose cases are functional, but there is nothing special about them. They are not too small nor they are too large. All 5 cases are made from plastic and the build quality is as good as you might expect in this price range, but again, the Sennheiser case looks and feels the most premium, with the Apple case being the most feature-packed of them all. Next up is battery life, and here is all the relevant data I managed to collect. I was testing the earbuds myself as far as the single charge playtime is concerned, and I found that the Sony XM4 buds are by far the best across all scenarios. The other 4 are close to each other with minor differences here and there. I don't want to waste more time on the topic, as you can pause the video right now to compare all the data, but there is one thing I would like to highlight here, and that's the lack of wireless charging on the Bose case. All others can offer this feature, but not the QC Mark IIs. With regards to connection, there are all sorts of wireless chips you can find on board of these buds, but what really matters is the functions they can offer and also how good they perform in everyday use. And as for the latter, I got good news, as I found no connection-related quirks and issues with either of these buds during my tests. Unless you identify the fact that both the AirPods Pro and the Samsung buds are optimized for being used within their own ecosystems as a quirk. But even though the AirPods Pro and the Galaxy Buds 2 Pro can deliver all their bells and whistles only when connected to other Apple or Samsung devices respectively, I was happy to see that all earbuds were easy to pair to all sorts of devices across all platforms. Connection proved to be stable with no signal dropouts whatsoever and with no visible lag when watching videos and all that. But these are somewhat basic requirements to be met, right? Where the buds start to differ is what features their wireless chips can give us access to. Let's start with the audio codecs. Apple trusts and use their own AAC codec only, but that codec can be found on all the other buds too, along with the most basic SBC codec. Sennheiser opted for bringing aptX Adaptive to the table, which codec is available on most Android phones, but not on iOS. Sony have their own LDAC codec, which is also compatible with Android only. Samsung also use their own high-res codec called SSC, but it's only available on compatible Samsung devices. So codec support is kind of a mixed bag, but you can take your pick. iPhone users are probably better off with the AirPods, the Galaxy Buds 2 Pro makes the most sense for Samsung owners, and other Android users might want to look somewhere else. Well, that could easily be the conclusion of this whole video, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. My personal vote goes for the Momentum and its aptX Adaptive codec, because it is a bit more flexible and maybe more stable too than LDAC on the Sony, but in favor of the XM4, there is the Google Fast Pair feature, which works on all Android devices. However, I did not have a chance to test the SSC codec on the Samsung buds due to the lack of a compatible phone. And now, let's discuss multipoint. Multipoint support is an option for earbuds to maintain an active connection with 2 separate devices at the same time, while being able to switch between the two either automatically or manually depending on your use case. And it's the Sennheiser buds only that can do all that properly across all platforms. Android, iOS or Windows doesn't matter. On the other hand, Apple limits multipoint to be used within their own bubble, so you can switch between other Apple products only. However, it works extremely well, I might add. It's all smooth and free of any hiccups. Samsung is trying to do the same within their own ecosystem. And Bose and Sony simply decided to leave this feature out of their flagship products. To be fair, Sony promised to give us multipoint at a future date, but that's just a promise for now. Another wireless function, the single bud or mono mode, is supposed to be pretty straightforward and basic, but there is one company again which opted against it, and that's Bose. You can only use the right bud on its own, while all the other earbuds can be used on their own independently, left or right, doesn't matter. So in terms of connection, I believe that the Sennheiser buds can offer the most complete and flexible package. Apple works well with Apple, Samsung works well with Samsung, but I guess you got this already at this stage. Next, let's see how the buds perform when it comes to making phone calls. So it's time to do some microphone tests. So this is the sound quality you can expect from the 3-mic array on the 2nd generation AirPods Pro when making a phone call in a quiet environment. And this is the sound quality you can expect from the 4-mic array on the Bose QuietComfort Mark II earbuds in a quiet environment. Next, here is a quick audio sample from the 3 microphones on the Samsung Galaxy Buds II Pro. So this is what you can expect in terms of phone call quality in a quiet environment. Next up are the Sennheiser Momentums, which also have 3 mics on each earbud. So this is the phone call quality you can expect again in a quiet environment. And last, here is the Sony WF-1000XM4, which does not only come with microphones on board, but it also has bone conduction sensors, which are supposed to enhance the phone call quality. And this is an outside test of the microphones on the 2nd generation AirPods Pro, with a slight breeze and some traffic noise around. And this is an outside test of the microphones on the Bose QuietComfort Earbuds Mark II. Again, same conditions, a slight breeze and some noise around. Next up are the Galaxy Buds II Pro. So this is what the microphones sound like on the Samsung Buds, with some wind noise and traffic noise thrown into the mix. And this is the microphone quality you can expect from the Sennheiser Momentum 2 Wireless 3 earbuds outside, with some wind and traffic noise. And last, here is an audio sample from the microphones on the Sony WF-1000XM4 outside. Same conditions, maybe a little bit stronger wind, but the traffic noise is still the same. But that's not all. I also did a test with crazy strong gusts of wind trying to blow my baseball cap off my head, which actually happened at some point. But what I'm trying to say is that almost all the buds failed miserably and there is barely anything usable of that footage, so I only suggest watching it if you are really into making phone calls in extremely windy conditions. But I don't want anyone else to suffer through these tests, so feel free to skip ahead to the next part. As you can hear, I picked twice a day for my outside test, as there is some sort of a strong wind and the traffic is quite heavy as well. But hey, this is why we are here, to put all these earbuds through their paces. And now let's see how the Bose QuietComfort gets through the rather adverse conditions, such as this very strong wind and some traffic noise. Next up are the Samsung Galaxy Buds II Pro. So this is the sound quality you get when you happen to make a phone call in the middle of a windstorm on the side of a busy road. At this stage, I'm not even sure if you can hear anything at all, but let's keep doing this test anyway. So this is the Sennheiser Momentum 3 outside in windy conditions. And I'm going to put an end to torturing your ears, I promise. But first, let's quickly hear an audio sample from the Sony Buds to complete this outside test. Okay, the weather was a bit out of control here, but it doesn't mean that you cannot control the earbuds themselves in one way or another. So in case you haven't figured it out, we are going to talk about the touch controls next. And while there are some differences in how much control we get over our earbuds, all 5 models here can offer single tap, double tap, triple tap, and long press, aka touch and hold. So that's a good start. But it's only the Sennheiser buds where you can almost completely remap the functionality of each and every tapping action using their smartphone app. And I also like the actual touch controls and how they work the most on the Momentum 3s. Maybe it's the large, flat surface that makes them so easy to use, and the quick reaction times do not hurt either. Don't get me wrong, all of the buds do a good job with their own touch controls, but my personal favorites are the Sonys in that regard. The AirPods Pro have force touch controls built into the stems, which requires a little press to make them register the action, but that works extremely well too. It's reliable and quick. The volume can be adjusted by swiping up or down on the stem, but it's a bit more finicky than I would like it to be. It's still marginally better than the Bose QC Mark II, which offers you the same swiping option for volume adjustments, but it's a bit less precise or reliable. The touch panel registers my swipe as a single tap sometimes, which pauses playback on the Bose, and that never happens on the Apple Buds due to the fact that you have to press the stem for playback controls, so simply touching it will do nothing. and that alone makes the AirPods Pro superior as far as controls. Both the AirPods and the QC buds can only offer you custom settings for their touch and hold action, which is either cycling through the different ambient modes or voice assistant controls. But at least regardless of the settings, you get access to all the functions at all times. With the Samsung buds, you can also choose to have either volume controls, voice commands, or noise controls for the touch and hold action, but no matter which function you opt for, you will lose the other two. The Sony XM4 is even worse, as you cannot even pick individual controls, as you can only assign complete groups of functions such as ambient sound controls or playback controls to each bud. And since there are 3 of these groups but only 2 buds, the math simply doesn't work. You will have to give up either playback, volume, or ambient noise controls. So as far as customization and functionality goes, the XM4 loses big points here. But at least the Sony Headphones app is available on both Android and iOS, unlike the Samsung Galaxy Wearable app, which is Android only, and on iOS you cannot change the settings whatsoever. And there is the Apple app, which does not even exist, as all settings are integrated into iOS, so you will have no chance to tweak the functionality of your AirPods on Android. But at least you will have all the controls available on the AirPods even on Android, except for Siri of course, but Samsung will have neither volume controls nor voice controls on iOS. And that takes us to the actual smartphone apps. On the screen you can see most of the features there are, so once again feel free to pause the video and dig in if you'd like. Let me make just a few comments here. First, again, no AirPods app for Android, and some functions will not even work outside the Apple world, such as spatial audio, multipoint, or audio sharing. Certain features of the Galaxy Buds 2 Pro are also tied to the Samsung ecosystem, so multipoint, 24-bit sound, or 360 audio are only available for Samsung phone owners. There is an Android app with a limited set of features, but there is no app for iOS at all. Bose, Sennheiser, and Sony are less picky, and all 3 can offer both an iOS and an Android version of their respective app, with the same settings and options on each platform. And that, in my eyes, is a win already. I also found the Sony Headphones app and the Sennheiser Smart Control app the easiest to use, and these are the 2 I would pick as winners in terms of functionality too. But since the Momentum's touch controls and also their app itself can offer a more user-friendly experience along with more flexibility, I would pick Sennheiser as winners of the controls and settings altogether. And on to the headline feature, let's compare the active noise cancelling performance of the buds. Now, let's not mince words. The Bose QuietComfort buds take an easy win with their most effective noise cancelling. From constant lower pitch hums such as an AC or airplane cabin noise, all the way across traffic noise to higher frequency random noises such as human chatter, these buds can block out the most of the world surrounding you. However, there are 2 things that might take a bit away from that glory. One is the loud white noise with ANC on, and 2 is the fact that you cannot actually turn off ANC completely. You can play around with sliders and presets in the app, but there is no way to disable noise cancelling at all. They must have thought that, okay, we created the best ANC technically possible today, so we might as well use it. But I personally like to have my options. Moving on. The AirPods Pro is not that far off behind Bose with its excellent ANC performance, and right on its heels there are the Samsung buds. And here is where the Sony XM4 starts to show its age, as it can only fight for off-podium places, and they do so toe-to-toe with the Sennheisers. The Momentum buds were being tested with third-party foam tips again, and without that extra isolation, I found their ANC a bit underwhelming, to be honest. So Bose takes the win with its absolute best noise cancelling, but Apple fights back with its absolute best transparency mode. Both earbuds have adaptive transparency, which monitors the noise levels and pulls everything down in case things get suddenly too loud in your environment. It works best on the AirPods Pro with smooth transitions and without sudden shifts in the sound, while the Bose buds can only manage to follow those changes with more abrupt jumps. And the transparency itself sounds the most natural of them all on the AirPods Pro, with the least amount of hiss and without any unnecessary digital noises. On the other hand, we get plenty of white noise and muffled sounds on the Bose. Things get better on the Samsung in its ambient mode, as it can come really close to the Apple Buds in terms of how natural it sounds, but every noise gets a bit amplified, which can be too much of a good thing at times. What the Galaxy Buds have and the AirPods Pros don't, however, is voice detection, which turns on ambient mode automatically when you start talking and switches back to whatever mode you were in before, 10 seconds after you stop talking. It's a neat trick, but the XM4 can do the same. It's called Speak to Chat in the Sony app, and you can customize both the sensitivity and the timing here, which makes it a more sophisticated solution. And as for the ambient mode on the XM4, it's hard to put it in the rankings because there is not only a focus on voice mode, which, well, focuses on voices, but you can also easily adjust the level of ambient noise on a scale from 1 to 20 using a slider in the app. And you also get a slider for your transparency mode in the Sennheiser app, which makes it another great and flexible option. But with or without sliders, my favorite is the AirPods Pro and its adaptive transparency mode, because it just works well automatically without having to adjust any sliders and settings in the app all the time. But talking about automation, I have to bring up the Sound Zones feature in the Sennheiser app and the adaptive sound control in the Sony headphones app. These two features are essentially the same, as in they both can be set up to change your ambient sound and noise cancelling to predefined settings based on certain criteria such as your location or activity. Sony gives you more flexibility and more options when setting it up, but at the end of the day both apps can do the same, and only these two apps can offer this feature. And also these are the only two apps, I mean the Sony and the Sennheiser app, that come with a dedicated wind noise reduction mode as part of their ANC settings. And that's an option you might find handy outdoors indeed, because wind noise is handled rather poorly by these two buds without it. The Bose and the Samsung buds are a touch better by default, but they lack the dedicated wind noise reduction mode. And even though the AirPods Pro do not offer such option, the earbuds can handle wind noise with aplomb across all scenarios, including transparency mode. And since wind noise tends to be the most irritating in transparency mode, that's a huge plus for me personally. Wind noise reduction is only available as a noise cancelling option on both the XM4 and the Momentum, and that leaves your ears more exposed to those whistling noises in transparency mode on those two buds. But here is my ranking in terms of wind noise in transparency mode. The AirPods Pro wins in front of Bose, then comes Samsung and Sony together, followed by Sennheiser at the bottom. And now it's time for some music listening to evaluate the sound quality of each bud. For testing I used both Android and iOS with Apple Music, Qobuz and Amazon Music, and tested all buds with their default or flat EQ settings. And here is what I found. When it comes to bass, there are two buds that pack quite a bit more punch than the rest of the bunch. The Sony XM4 and the Bose QC2 are the clear winners here in terms of power delivery and extension in the lower registers. The Momentums are close with their overall bass performance, but they can only keep up with the two bass boosters when the Comply foam tips are in use in my ears. With their original tips, they lose a significant amount of low-end energy, and that pushes them straight down to the bottom of the list. The Galaxy Buds 2 Pro have a great, snappy and lean bass, which might be less powerful than that of the Bose or the Sony, but it's still plenty strong for my taste and for most musical genres. And looking at the big picture, these kind of feel the most balanced overall. The AirPods Pro comes in last with its least intense bottom end. It's not that we don't get enough kick, but there is definitely less extension and warmth here. But that little lack of heft in the bass turns into some sort of an advantage when mid-range clarity is concerned. The AirPods Pro is head-to-head with the Momentum at the top as far as rendering vocals and acoustic instruments go. We get plenty detail and great tonality across the mid-range on both buds. Samsung and Bose are really close, followed by Sony in the last place. What differentiates the Galaxy and the QuietComfort buds here is that while the former is more open and forward, but a little thin, the latter is more rich and warm in the mids. The QC buds are also the most center-focused in their overall presentation. And while the XM4 delivers a good overall clarity in the mid-range, their sound could use a bit more boost here to compensate for the very dynamic bass and treble. And onto the highest frequencies, you can get the most detail and the best extension with plenty sparkle on the Samsung buds. Maybe a bit too much for my taste, but still, this performance is excellent. I'm only wondering how much better it can get with access to the SSC codec and 24-bit playback on compatible Samsung phones. And as far as treble reproduction, the Sennheiser and the Sony buds are close second behind Samsung. The Sennheiser might sound a touch smoother in the highs than the Sony, but both have great energy here, and we also get plenty detail, partly thanks to their aptX and LDAC codecs. On iOS, both earbuds lose the tiniest bit of advantage they had over the AirPods Pro thanks to their codecs, and with all three buds using the AAC codec only, it's more of a level playing field. And regardless of the codec situation, the Bose buds finish last here with their rolled off highs. Soundstage, imaging and instrument separation are most impressive on the Momentum 3s, but the Galaxy Buds 2 Pro is no slouch either, and in terms of soundstage width, it might even be in front of the Sennheisers. Both earbuds sound airy, open and spacious. The AirPods Pro and the XM4 come in next, head to head, while the Bose buds are last with their most intimate and closed-in delivery. Which one is best? It's hard to tell. There are so many factors affecting the sound, such as fit, your environment, your source device, the streaming quality, and the codec you use, not mentioning the different EQ settings and your personal taste in music. I would probably pick the Sennheisers myself, but strictly with the foam tips, and since that's kind of cheating, I wouldn't want to announce them as winners of the sound quality test. And also, I've been using an iPhone as my daily driver for a while now, and the AirPods Pro might make more sense in this case. And especially with spatial audio in mind, the AirPods Pro are really a step above the others, even if both Samsung and Sony have their own equivalent immersive audio tech on board. On the other hand, Bose and Sennheiser have loads of catching up to do in this 3D arena. But talking about Bose, they are by far the best option for bass heads, along with the XM4, which also has the most dynamic sound overall. The Galaxy Buds 2 Pro can also perform extremely well, and I would go as far as saying that their sound is probably the most balanced and detailed, so the Samsung Galaxy Buds 2 Pro are probably the most likable for most people, even in the absence of all the advantages a Samsung phone could bring to the table. But still, I like the extra richness I get in the mids with the Momentum 3s. And to wrap it all up, I would say that each set of earbuds have their clear strengths and weaknesses. The AirPods Pro are your best bet assuming you are an iPhone user. Or should I say that the AirPods Pro does not fall far from the Apple III. The Galaxy Buds 2 Pro can be your best friend as far as you are a Samsung phone user, or in other words, if you are one of the guardians of the Samsung Galaxy. The Bose is the bossy bass booster as long as you find comfort in being quiet, or if you like the silence of the stems. And while it's hard to make a pun out of the name WF-1000XM4, Sony's flagship buds are exemplary examples of how to make buds that can be successful in the long run. And before I completely lose your interest or lose... You know what's coming, don't you? So before I completely lose momentum here, the Sennheiser buds might offer you the most compelling and the most customizable package across the board. And that would make them kind of a winner if this video wasn't called Best ANC Earbuds Comparison, but noise cancelling is probably the one and only area where they struggle to match their competitors. And there is the situation with the original ear tips too, which for me makes it hard to judge their out-of-the-box performance. Both the second generation Apple AirPods Pro and the Samsung Galaxy Buds 2 Pro could also be the absolute winners here with ease if they offered all their features across all platforms and if we didn't have to deal with such restrictions the minute we step outside their tech bubble. The Sony XM4 are still one of the best all-rounders without a doubt, and if rumors are to be believed, we can expect updates and new features soon. And since, Again, it's literally a best ANC earbuds comparison. Ignoring Bose on the account of lacking features would be a huge mistake too, as they really raised the bar in terms of ANC performance with their latest QuietComfort buds. But they do lack some features, don't they? Okay, that's it from me for today, but what do you think? Which one would you pick out of these 5 and why? Let me know in the comments down below. Stay tuned for more comparison videos, like this one, subscribe to the channel, click on more of my videos, thank me, dislike me, whatever you feel appropriate, but I will always appreciate your time and effort nonetheless. Thanks for watching, see you next time.